Matrix multiplication, inverses, and determinants, explained by Justin D'Souza. The learning objectives of this lesson are to multiply matrices and to find determinants of inverses of 2 cross 2 and 3 cross 3 matrices. The keywords of this lesson are to identify matrix, inverse, invertible, singular matrix, and determinant. We will come across all these words as we complete this lesson. Let's begin with multiplying matrices. Before we jump into multiplication of matrices, let's look into the basic operation of matrices. Say, for example, matrix addition. Now, here you need to understand few basic things of of matrices, that is, rows and columns. Rows is the horizontal arrangement. Now you can see this is entire row. Now imagine you have a classroom and the seating arrangements are done in rows, 4 rows, but 2 columns. Now you can see the horizontal arrangement. This is the first row, second row, third row, fourth row. These are row, R-O-W. What is column? Column is basically, this is M and N, it should be, anyways. Column is 1 and 2, the vertical arrangement. This is about rows and columns. Now let's look over here in this matrix. How many, the first matrix only, how many rows are there? 1 and 2. So you write always row cross column. That is 2. What is the columns? 1, 2, 3. This is 2 cross 3 matrix. What about this? The same thing, it's 2 cross 3, and this is also 2 cross 3. Now imagine you had matrices 1, 3, 4, and 7. Now this would be 2 cross 2 matrix. Now what about a matrix like this? 3, 7, 9. Take your time, think about it, and then let's see the answer. It's 1, 2, 3 matrix and only one column. It's 3 cross 1 matrix. So this is how we write the rows and columns. This is an important thing. For addition of matrix, you just add the first digit with the first digit. Now look over here, this is the first digit, right? A11 means it's in the first row, first column. A12, it's in the first row, second column. A23, second row, third column. That's how we denote it. Now add them up together and you will get it, but make sure it is added appropriately. It must be the same rows and columns and the digit must be of the same row and column. Then you get the answer. Very simple. Now we are not dealing with addition or scalar multiplication. Scalar multiplication is just that you're multiplying any number evenly throughout the matrix. Now I'll give you an example. Like, let me just give you a simple example for addition. 2, 3, 5, 7, and over here plus 4, 3, that is, sorry, 3, 2, 9. Okay, the answer would be this. With this, it'll be 6. Adding 3 plus 3 is 3 plus 3 is 6 again. 5 plus 2 is 7, and 9 plus 7 is 16. So this would be the answer. Now, what if I have to multiply a scalar factor? Now, any matrix, let it be, you're multiplying a number, say 5. You have to multiply it throughout. That would be 5 times 1, that's 5. Over here, 5 times 2 is 10, 15, and 20. This is the answer. But multiplication of matrix is something different. It is not so simple as scalar matrix. Now let's look into the main topic, the multiplication of matrix. There are certain rules which it must follow. The first thing is, we must see the rows and columns of the matrices we are multiplying, because you can't just multiply any matrix with anything. You can multiply if they are not having the same rows and columns, but the columns of the first matrix must match the rows of the second matrix. In the sense, we will see an example, then you'll understand. And the answer which is formed will have these two as the dimensions. That is, rows over here and columns over here. We will look into an example now. This is generalization of the multiplication. Let me show you with this over here. Look here, what is the row or what is the dimension of this matrix? That's the row and column. It's only one row multiplied by 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. What about this? It's 3 rows and just 1 column. Now look at these two, the inner two dimensions, 3 and 3, they are equal. Well and good, you can multiply this. Now whatever this tells you the answer of the final matrix which will be formed after multiplication. That will be 1 cross 1. That's 1 row, 1 column. That's it. Now let's look over here. How do we multiply? Now please remember this. The entire row is multiplied with the entire column here. Look, the arrows are important. It's moving right and goes down. The first unit at the tail of this, the first unit, let me change colors now. The first unit over here is multiplied by the first unit of this column. The second unit, let me change it over here. The second unit, that's 1 with the second unit over here. Digit, I mean, okay? And this third digit with third digit. Now, this colors are very important because this term will be multiplied over here with this term. Now, what does it mean? It means -2 will be multiplied with 4. And you just put a plus sign in between because the sign will change later on. That's fine. 1 times -6. 1 times -6 over here. Then lastly, plus 3 times 5. So you have -8. Here it will be -6. -6 times 1 is -6 itself. Plus 15. And now let's solve this. -8 and -6 will be -14. Plus 15 is 1. And this is the answer. That's the only thing that's remaining in that matrix. You can see the answer is 1 over here. This is how we multiply matrices. Now let's do some more multiplication. Let's do over here. You'll understand much better now. First thing, let's check whether the dimensions are okay. It's 2 cross 2. Over here it is 2 cross 3. Yes, the inner things are fine. But the final matrix will be 2 cross 3. In this sense, you will have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This will be the answer. We will see it in a while. Now what do you do? Let me do the color coding now again. Over here, this part is multiplied over here with this part. So it will be 3 times 2 minus 2 plus 1 minus 1 times, it's times, sorry, 3. That's the first digit of the newly formed AB matrix. That's it, the first digit. Done. Next will be, see, the same thing over here, but with the second column in the second matrix. Now, this and this will be the answer over here. Wherever the tails are there, that over here in this one indicates the row, first row. This over here indicates the column. This is first row, first column. This is the answer for that. Next one over here, first row, second column. This will be over here. 3 times 0 plus minus 1 times 5. Next, we need to change this. It will be the first row with the third column because there are 3 columns here. You have to multiply throughout. Now, last one will be 3 times 6 plus minus 1 times 1. And that is the answers for the first row in the product of this matrix or after you multiply. But it's not over. You need to do the next row again now. Same thing. 4 and 0 multiplied with this one over here, minus 2 and 3. So now here what happens is when you're writing the second row, always this values changes. 3 becomes 4 and this over here, minus 1 becomes 0. But what about the other things? Minus 4 times minus 2 will be always same. 0 times 3 over here. So you can remember when you go down to the next row, only this and this digit changes. The other two will be the same. Same thing we have to do with the second column. The same one multiplied over here. It will be 4 times 0 plus 0 times 5. And lastly, we have, let me take this over here, this and this over here. So it will be 4 times 6 plus 0 times 1. Now, if we simplify these matrices, we will get the correct answer. Let's do it. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6 plus minus 1 times 3 is minus 3. It will be minus 6 minus 3 is minus 9. That's the first digit of the matrix. Now, the first row, second column would be 0 minus 5. It will be minus 5. And lastly, you will have 6 times 3 is 18 and minus 1. That will be 17 positive. Now we will go to the second row. 4 times minus 2 is minus 8. And since it's 0, all these are disregarded, only the first set. Now here you can see 0 and 0, both the sides is multiplied, so answer is 0. Lastly, we have 6 times 4, that's 24. So this is the product of the matrix, matrix A and B. Now here you can realize what's the dimension. This is 2 cross 2, this is 2 cross 3. Now this and this is equal, fine. So we can do multiplication, but the answer must be 2 rows, 3 columns. That's the answer. So this is how we multiply. Please do this carefully. Don't miss any digit and do it thoroughly. You will get the correct answer. So you can see the answer over here is here. This is the final answer. That is minus 9, minus 5, 17, minus 8, 0, 24. So that's the answer. Now we will do the part B, that is to multiply B and A. So whenever you multiply any matrix, the first thing what I would suggest is, what is the first matrix given? B, right? Write that first. Minus 2, 0, 6, 3, 5, 1. Multiplied with A, that is 3, minus 1, 4, 0. This is how you write it. Now here, is it possible this to multiply here? No, it's not possible, because let's see the dimensions. This is 2 cross 3 and over here it's 2 cross 2. Look, this 3 and 2 is not equal. This is wrong. It's not possible to multiply it, because when you multiply this, you need to write 2 minus 2 times 3, 0 times 4. But where is 6 multiplied with? No. This must, if it was say 3, 3, then yes, you could have done it. But in this case, no, you cannot multiply this. So it's not possible to multiply. It's undefined. So this is how we check and multiply. Now I will teach you the calculator method. Now if you have, objective sort of questions, in the sense you get options directly, you can solve it by calculator method. But you need to follow the methods carefully, because if you go anywhere wrong, you will get an error answer. You may not get the answer properly. Sometimes it might give an error. So now let's see properly how to do it. You need your calculators for this. Let's look. Pressing the mode, you can see over here option number 6 is matrix. Let's click on that. Now here matrix, which one? I need to choose the matrices. Now let's start with A and B. So I will substitute this A first. Matrix A is 1. And what is the dimension of this? 1, 2 and 2 cross 3 it is. 2 cross 3 is given over here. And when I press that, I'll get the dimensions appropriately. Only thing is I need to fill in the values. It is 3. Then we have 1 and lastly we have minus 5. So this is the first row and we have minus 2, 0 and 4. So matrix A is done. How do you save this matrix? It's just by pressing AC. It's saved. See, you can see the matrix mode, it's already saved. Now please don't go to mode and press 6. Please don't do that. If you press mode and 6 and fill in other matrix, gone. The old one will be not saved and you will get wrong answers. Now what you need to do is press shift and 4 anymore. Once you fill in the first matrix by going to mode, never press mode anymore. All you need to do is press shift and 4, you will get matrices. Now if you want to fill the matrix, always click on 1, that is the dimension. What is the dimension of the matrix? So I'll click 1. And which matrix? Matrix A is already saved at the beginning. So no touching this. Matrix A is saved. What is the matrix B? No, not saved. So press 2. And this is again 2 cross 3. That is option number 4. Now type in the values. It is minus 6. Then we have 1. And lastly we have 7. Sorry, that should be 7. Here we have 4, minus 5. Minus 5 and lastly 3. Okay, now press AC. Both the matrices are saved and now we can easily access them by again the same way, shift 4. Now type matrix A, multiply it with what? Matrix B, that is shift 4 and 4. What's the answers? It tells you it's a dimensional error. That means it's not possible to multiply with these both. Now, even if you swap them, it will be a dimension error. Why? I didn't even bother to check the matrices, but it's better to check the matrix and then do the multiplication. We'll do again the next one. We'll see. See, here it is 2 cross 3. And over here, how much is it? 2 cross 3. Doesn't matter what, these two won't be the same. Even if I write this first over here, it'll be 2 cross 3, 2 cross 3. It'll never be same. Even BA or AB does not exist because it's dimensional error. You can't multiply them. I hope this is clear. You can see that does not exist. Now, what about this one? Let's try. Now, since I'm starting a new problem, I can go to mode 6, 1 and type its values. What is the dimension? It is 2 cross 3. That is the option number 4. Now here, minus 2 equal to, and then we have 0, and then we have 3, 5, minus 7 and 1. It's saved. It's done. Press AC. Now please don't go back to the mode. Press shift 4. Now dimensions of the matrix, option number 2. Now what do you do? Put the matrix B. What is the dimension? 1, 2, 3, 3 cross 2 it is. So 3 cross 2 is option number 2. Now type in the values. 2, 0, minus 1, sorry, it's minus 1, 0, 9, and lastly we have 3. And both the matrices are saved. Now all you need to do is shift and press number 4, option number 4, that is matrix, and now type 3 cross is multiplication, shift 4, option number 4. Matrix 1 is this one, already saved. Matrix B is this one, saved. The answer will be 23, 9, 26 and 3. That is the answer. That is for AB. Now what about BA? You don't need to fill in the matrices again. Just press over here, shift 4. First type in matrix B multiplied with shift 4 matrix A, and you will get the answers minus 4, 0, 6 and minus 2, 0, 0, minus 3, minus 21 and positive 30. So this is how you can easily multiply any problem using calculator. Now let's go into the properties of multiplications. Now over here we have certain properties like associative property of scalar multiplication. It's obvious, but about matrix multiplication, left distributive or right distributive property. Now these properties over here, it's just that now you have 3 matrices and you're multiplying them. You can multiply AB first and multiply with C. It's the same thing, or BC first and then multiply with A. It's the same thing. And similarly over here, you can just go through them. Now we have a real world problem over here. The percent of voters of different ages who were registered as Democrats, Republicans or Independents in a recent city election are shown. Okay, now use this information to determine whether there were more male voters registered as Democrats than there were female voters registered as Republicans. So we need to check after we find out the male and female voters whether there were more Democrat male voters or female Republican voters. Now first of all, look at this data over here. What do you have is the percentage of over here, the age group is there. Over here also age group is there. So this is all the data over here to over here, and this is the data over here and over here. So Democrats at this age group, the same age group over here mentioned, female, male. Now this is regarding the age and the party, that is the Democrat, Republican and Independent parties. Here it's age and male and female only. So now if you see this, the first row over here and the first column, you can multiply. Why? Because it's the same age, you can multiply this. So what we do is, we have to multiply this with this. Now before that, let's look into the dimensions. 3 cross 4 here, and what is the dimension here? 4 cross 2. 4 and 4 is equal. The final answer will be 3 cross 2. That means 3 cross 2. That means you'll have 3 rows and 2 columns. 1, 2, 3, and 2 columns. That is what happens now. Here, let's start. From the tail, this part we keep on going and multiply entirely. Now if you're thinking why we are not using the calculator, we don't have in the calculators we use, we cannot multiply more than 3 cross 3. You can't have 4. Okay, 3 cross 3 is maximum, sorry. So that's why we need to manually multiply it. The concept is same over here, multiplying. This will be the answer. What happens is, see the tail, that is 0.55. Let's start over here. 0.55 multiplied with 18,500. I'll write 18.5k, that is 1000, plus 0.5 multiplied by 20k, then plus 0.35 multiplied by 24.5k, plus 0.4 multiplied by 16.5k. This is done. This is the first digit we get. Now the same thing is multiplied over here as well, and let's see what's the answers. It'll be the same thing, 0.55, but multiplied with 16k, plus 0.5 multiplied with 24k, plus 0.35 multiplied with 22.5k, and lastly plus 0.4 multiplied with 22 point, it's 14, sorry, 14k. That's done. Now same thing, this entire thing will be multiplied over here. So it will be 0.3 multiplied with, I'm not going to see over here, I know the second parts will be the same, 18.5k, plus only these values change, 0.4 multiplied with 20k, plus 0.45 multiplied with 24.5k. So let me just, yes, now 24.5k, and lastly we have 0.55 multiplied with 16.5k. Over here same thing, 0.3 multiplied with 16k, and it goes on. I hope you understand where we are going at. So the same thing will be done in your exams. Generally you won't get such big answers. The values will be given will be small, and you can do them in calculator as well. This is just for understanding sake. I hope this is clear. Now when you do it, you'll get the answers. Let's just solve one of these two values, because it just keeps on going. You have to just keep on writing this. Let me use a calculator. Let's use our calculators and let's solve these values here. Now, if you want to snap out of matrix mode, you need to just either go to mode and one, sorry, just mode. I press shift and mode. It's mode and one, it's gone. Or you can just clear your calculators. Now it's 0.55 multiplied with 18,500. I'll just write it. Plus 0.5 into 20,000 plus 0.35 into 24,500, and lastly we have plus 0.4 into 16,500. So the value we get is 35,350. Now let's look here, the answer 35,350. That's the first answer over here. Now when you solve the second part, you'll get 34,275. Same way you need to solve it for all. And I told you it's 3 cross 2. Yes, this is 1 to 3 cross 2. Now let's see, what does this data give us. This data gives us, now over here this was Democrats, and this is the age. Now age and age, that's gone. Now this Democrats and female. So all this first row is all about female voters. Now if you look carefully, this first one, this is Democrat, right? I'll write away 3 cross 4, 4 cross 3, 4 cross 2, sorry. This is gone, this is gone. The age and age is gone. Now here we have Democrat, that is Democrats over here, Republicans over here, Independents over here. What does it remain over here? That is female, male. This is the details we find. And what is asked in this question? How many more male voters registered as Democrats? Male voters as Democrats over here. This one, than female voters as Republicans. That means this, compare these both. Yes, the male voters were greater than the female voters in the Republicans. Okay, that's it. They did not ask male voters and Democrat and Democrat. No, male voters in Democrats. So male voters in Democrats means this one was greater than the female voters in Republicans. That was 33,000. This is it. This is the answer. So that's how we solve it. It might be a bit lengthy. Yes, it's taxing because you need to do it for all the values. You can directly put in the calculator as well, and then you'll get the answer. But most of the times you won't get such problems in the exam. This is for your understanding sake only. Now, here we already compared just a while ago this and this, and we can see over here male were greater than female voters. That's it. We have one more real world problem here. This is an interesting one. The number of laptops that a company sold in the first 3 months of the year is shown, as well as the price per model during these months. Now, here you can see the Model 1 in January, 150 pieces were sold, Model 2, 250, and so on. In March, you can see Model 1 increased. In February, it increased, March, it increased. And here you can see per model for one piece, they sold it at 650. Here, in January, the Model 2 was sold at 800 and Model 3 at 900 and so on. So this is the details. Now, what other things are given? Use this information to determine which model generated the most income for the first 3 months. Which gave the most income. So now we need to multiply them. Yes, obviously. Now what happens is, when you multiply, right, here you can do 3 cross 3. This is 3 cross 3. You will get what? 9 digits, right? You will get 1, 1, 1 over here. All these values you'll get. You don't need all the values. The diagonal values, this middle values are only the important values. This, and this is only of main importance. Why? Because here everything is in Jan, Feb, March, Jan, Feb, March. This is model 1, 2, 3, model 1, 2, 3. In such cases, only the diagonal will be the answers. But here now, let's look carefully. What happens if I multiply this with this? If I take all these values, what are these values? The number of models in Model 1, Model 2, Model 3 in January. And if I multiply with over here, what is this? Model 1, Model 2, Model 3 of January. Only January I'll get. So basically, if I multiply this and this, I will get January's profit only. I'll not get 3 different models. I'll just get the profit I earned by selling all the models in the month of January. So this won't give us much, it's not much helpful. But now I will rearrange this and write. I'll rearrange this. I'll write this first. 650, 575, 485, then 800, 700, and 775. And this is 900, 1050, and 925. Multiplied with the number of models sold, 150, 250, 550. Here we have 200, 600, 625, 100, 100, and 350. So now let us see. This is all what? Jan, Feb, March, Model 1, 2, 3. Okay. Here, this will be Jan, Feb, March. This is what? Model 1. This is the first matrix I've written over here. Model 1, Model 2, Model 3. So when I multiply this entire thing here and over here, what do you get? January, February, March multiplied with January, February, March of only this first model. So in all the first 3 months, the money made in all the first 3 months only for the first model will be given in the first dimension, first digit of the matrix. So this is what I want, because they want everything, the first 3 months, how much revenue was generated in the model 1, 2, 3. So in such cases, what you need to have is in the second column, the thumb rule is in the second column, I should have model 1, model 2, model 3. That means whatever the answers I get will be model 1, model 2, model 3. And here, the first one, that'll be entirely of the first 3 months as well. It's not Jan, Feb, March, it's all the 3 months together. So let's multiply this directly in the calculator. I'll show you. Let's take out our calculators. All you need to do over here is just mod 6 first matrix. It's how much dimension? 3 cross 3. Let's type in the values. 650 equals to 575. Press equal to save the values. 485, 800, now 700, 775, 900, 1050, and lastly we have 925. Now save it by pressing AC. It's saved. Don't go to mode anymore. Press shift and 4 and then press 1 for dimension of the matrix to save the second matrix. Now which matrix you want to save? That is matrix 2. Already 1 is saved. That is A is done. So press 1 for this dimension. Now type this values. 150. Next one is 250. 550. 200. And then 625. 100, and now the last row 600, 100, and lastly we have 350. That's the answers. Now both the matrices are saved. You go press shift 4, type matrix 1, that is matrix A, sorry, 3, multiply it with shift 4 and with matrix B. The answers, whatever you get right over here, look only at the diagonals. The first, this over here, second row, second column, and lastly third row, third column. Let me just write those values, okay? Now here, what is the first value? It is 50,000, 503,000, sorry. 503,500. What about this one? Let me just go there. It is 71,000, 715,000 and 715,000. So let's write over here, it was the 715,000 and last one was 923,750. So which did produce the maximum? This is all 3 months, all 3 months. See, Jan, Feb, March, everything is taken and multiplied. So whatever the answers we get, yes, this is for model 1, second one is for model 2, and this is for model 3. But this is the first 3 months, the money generated, the income generated. That is, M3 is the highest. So model 3, right, produced the highest income. This will be the answer, model 3. And how much it produced? 923,750 dirhams. That's the answer, model 3. Okay, they did not ask us to find how much, but model 3 produced highest amount. Now, even by looking over here, Jan, Feb, March, how much model 3 were produced? You can see model 1 were the highest produced. No, it's almost the same. But look over here, the model 3 cost is one of the highest, right? And they are almost equal number of units. Whereas model 2 was the second highest. See, it's a tight clash, but almost equal number. If you add them all up, you'll come to know as well. You can easily deduce it. So you don't even need to do the entire multiplication. You can easily deduce it. See how many models were there in the 3 months. Add them all up. 600, 800, 950. Here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, more than that, 975. Here, it is highest. And look at the costs. Costs are also highest for model 3. Model 2 is the second highest, and the cheapest was model 1. So you can directly jump into the conclusion that model 3 is highest. But if they are asking for how much did they produce, you will have to do multiplication of matrix, what I just now did. This needs to be done if they ask you the cost. In your exam, they might ask you how much was the income generated. Then this is the correct answer. Remember, see all the 3 months means have these 3 months over here in the columns and multiply the second matrix with model 1 to 3, not in the rows. This is how we do it. Over here we have to change and do it. That was about basic multiplications. Now let's look into inverses and determinants. This is another important topic. Now here, Inverse means, now what is the inverse of x? X is x to the power minus 1 or 1 by x, x inverse. Same way, what is the multiplication? It's something that when you multiply, you get 1, isn't it? That is basically inverse. Normal inverse, we are speaking. But what is inverse of a matrix? Here, basically, when you multiply two terms, two matrices, you must get an identity matrix. When you multiply two matrices, if they are inverse, you get I. What is that? I is, I just write it out, 1 0 0 1. This is identity matrix. Okay, if you have 3 over here, 0 1 0 0 0 1, this is identity matrix. Whenever you multiply two matrices and you get I, that means you have an inverse. Now let's look into the problems over here. How do you check if they are inverses? Now we have done all the multiplications and everything. You should know by now. You can just start multiplying. And look here, if this is multiplied, both, not only one side, not only AB, it should be even BA. Both the sides, it should be multiplied and check, and you must get I. Let's check over here. If you multiply in both the cases, what happens? When you multiply AB, you can see the steps are over here. The first row with the first column over here, this with this. The arrow is important. It will be minus 3 times 1, that is minus 3, plus 2 times 2 is 4. Then this with this. And over here it will be minus 3 times minus 2 is positive 6, and 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. And this is how we get it. We have done this a while ago, and do it all and solve it. You will get identity matrix. Same way with B and A. B must be written first, A second, and then we are doing like this. The same thing with over here, then this one over here and over here. And then you will get identity matrix. In this case, yes, they both are inverse of each other. So when you find the inverse of this, you will get this, or inverse of this, you will get this. In some time, in the next topics, we will be learning about directly inverse, finding the inverse. We will see that as well. But for now, they have given you two matrices, and we need to find whether they are inverse. It is just by multiplying them and finding the identity matrix. That's it. So because over here, this follows the rule, these both are inverse of each other. Now, what about these two? Please do it by yourselves. The same method. It's very straightforward method, and you can check it. I hope you have tried. You can see the answers over here. This is yes. If you multiply them, you can just use your calculators. Let me do it quickly in calculator. The first one. All you need to do over here is, now since I'm not going to use this again, the old matrices, I can directly go to mode, press 6, 1. And this is 2 cross 2, that is option number 5, and then type the values. Minus 4, 3, 3, minus 2. Sorry, it's minus 2. Now this is saved, press AC. Now don't go to mode anymore, shift 4. Now dimensions for the matrix B, and now it's 5. Now type this, 2, 3, 3, 4. Let's see. That's saved, it's shift and 4, matrix A multiplied with shift and 4 with matrix B. The answer must be identity matrix. Yes, 1 0 0 1. Now it shouldn't even obey the other way around, in the sense shift 4 matrix B multiplied with shift 4 3. You must get identity. Yes, you get it. Now let's try the next one, because I think so it's not identity matrix. So what happens in such cases? Sorry. Mode 6, and let me type that matrix. It's 6 2 2 1, and press AC. Now go over here, shift 4, and you need to fill in the dimensions for the second matrix, that is 1 minus 2 and 6. Let's press AC, and now let's solve it. Shift 4, 3 multiplied with shift 4 4. What is the answer? Here you're getting 2002. This is not identity. It should be exactly 1001. And now let's try the other way around. Shift matrix B and matrix A. You need to multiply them. That's a cross product. Here also it's 2002. Though it's coming same, but no, they are not identity matrix. So no, this is not possible. So this is the answer no over here. This is yes. Now let's look into the inverses and determinants about invertible or singular matrix. This is another important concept. Now, what exactly is invertible or non-singular? Invertible means, as the name suggests, invertible means inverse exists. If you have been given a matrix and they're telling you this is invertible, that means the inverse of that particular matrix exists. Whereas if it is non-invertible, that means there is no inverse for that. Now, invertible and non-singular, singular means only one, right? Non-singular means there is something else. That means the inverse exists. So invertible means inverse exists, non-singular also means the same thing. Now this is important, whereas singular matrix does not have an inverse. Okay. Now here, how we actually do it is by these steps. Okay. Now we will see it in a while. Now this is all something you will come to know in a while again. You can have these digits and you can have ABC and you can multiply this all. But there are easier methods to solve as well. We will see the problem methods and then we will follow that only. Okay, this is the row transformation methods that is mentioned in the textbook. We'll do one problem on this. But then when you come to know the direct inverse method, which is very simple and easy, we will stick to that itself. Let's look into the all different type of inverse methods and then we will zero in on the easier one. Now we will see a problem, you'll understand this much easily. Now here they're asking you to find the inverse of this. And first we need to check whether there exists inverse or no. And if there exists inverse, if it is non-singular, then we need to find the inverse. Here we need to know that when we multiply this matrix with its inverse, we have what? We have identity matrix, right? So now for this particular method, we need to do augmented matrix. Now in this case, we don't prefer this particular method. Why? Because we directly can't tell, oh, there is no matrix or anything. No, we have to do this method till the end and then we will come to its conclusion. Okay, after we try doing it, okay, there is no inverse for this or there is inverse for this. Okay, this is a bit longer. This is not so preferred, but let's look how we will solve it. Now, what this exactly says, double augmented matrix means. Now, in reality, we are telling this multiplied with one more matrix must give us this answer 1001. So now what we do is we write augmented matrix and transform the first part into 1001. We do transformation of matrices. If you remember the matrix transformation, then you will know we can do transformations of matrix, right? We have to do that and transform this part, the first given matrix, to identity matrix. Then whatever is formed over here at the right side will be the inverse matrix. Sometimes it's not possible to continue the transformation. If it stops, then you will realize this will not be identity matrix. It's not possible. Now we will do the row transformation and transform the given matrix to the identity matrix. The row transformation is another topic entirely, so please go back to the row transformation for more details where it's explained in detail. Now over here we will just go through the row transformations. I'll explain you how the transformations are done. Now our goal is to eliminate these numbers and get 1001, right? We can start with anything. Generally, as a thumb rule, we start from the down and move upwards, okay? So how can you make this term must be 0. So how can you make minus 3 as 0? What should you transform it by? This is 8. So I can tell if I have, see now imagine if this was plus 3. If I added row 1 plus row 2, it would have been 0. But now it's not the case. Here we have 8. So let us do a same common term in the sense common term of 8 and 3. When is that? Now multiply 8 times 3. How much is it? 24. I can do one thing, that is 3 times 8 is 24, right? And the down one will be negative. Now add them up. What happens? It's 0. So this is what I'll try to do. Now I will tell it again. How exactly? I will write the transformation of this below row. What will happen? I will have to multiply the first row 8 times the first one plus 3 times row 2. I hope this is clear. Sorry, I've written it wrong. 3 times. See, now this must be multiplied by the opposite. I just don't know why I wrote it wrong. So this one, what happens? 3 times I should multiply by 8, that is R1, plus 8 times I should multiply it by R2. So I should do this to this part gets 0, but now I should do this throughout. I can't just do it for the one row. Now look over here, the above one will be same, nothing happens. I've not done any transformation. 1 0. So here, this part, down part, what happens is basically 3 times row 1, how much is it? 8, plus 8 times row 2, what is it? Minus 3. This transformation is happening over here. Whatever is happening, I've written over here. It's 24 minus 24, that's 0. So that's gone. Okay, now this is what we wanted to do from before. Okay, but now you need to do the same thing for all the other 3 digits. Whatever transformation you did over here, same thing will be carried out in the other parts as well. So here now, 3 into above this, what is it? Minus 5 plus 8 times, what is this? 2. Now this one is very favorable for us. Minus 15 plus 16, that is positive 1. This is what we actually wanted. Now whenever you get these problems in exam, they'll be such that they won't be very complicated. If you carefully start analyzing the first problem and start doing over here the bottommost, you will eventually easily solve the others as well. These are falling into its places, you can say. Now then, what else do you want to do? This one, these two also needs to be transformed. What is the above one? It is 3 times 1 plus 8 times 0. What is the answer? It will be 3. That's 3 here. And lastly over here, 3 times 0 plus 8 times 1. That is 8. That's it. So that is how we transform. Let's look into the answer. It will be 0, 1, 3, 8. I hope that is clear. This is the transformation we used. Now, same way we need to try to solve the above. Look over here. Now, once we have 1, it is very, very easy to get this to 0. Why? Because just add this same thing, the above thing, just add it with it's negative 5. So add it with 5 times a positive 5 times 1. So I just do R1, the entire top row, plus 5 times the below thing, because it's 1, right? You should just multiply whatever is the number over here, but with the opposite sign. So basically what happens here is, now R1, what is the above term? Here it will be 8 only, plus 5 times 0 is 0. Nothing happens. Here it is 8, sorry, minus 5 for the second. Now this one, how we get is minus 5 plus 5 times 1. It becomes 0. Same thing must be carried out over here. I'll do over here as well. 1 plus 5 times 3. That's 15 plus 1 is 16. And same thing, 0 plus 5 times 8, that is 40. That's how we get it. Now, all this is over. The last transformation, how do you get is always this one, 8 is there. All the others are done. Easiest part. Just divide this by 8 throughout, you will get the answer. Nothing else. Why? Because over 8 is there. This is 0, right? Now you just want this 1. So divide throughout by 8. Here you get 1, 2, 5. And whatever you get over here now, the first one is identity. The next one is inverse. This is row transformation. Okay. This is how we transform the rows. And this is how we get the identity matrix. Now, this is an obsolete method in the sense no one uses this method nowadays. Now, this is a correct method. Yes, absolutely. Just for your understanding's sake. But more generally, you can solve the same thing in calculate as well, which I'll show in a minute. But there is one more interesting method which we'll see at the end of this lesson. That is the most often used method. But before that, I'll show you the calculator method. So what you need to do is go to mode 6, fill this in one of the matrix 1, and this is option number 5. Let me type it in. 8 minus 5. Sorry, it's 8 minus 5 minus 3 and 2. It's saved. Press AC. Now it's saved. All you need to do is shift 4, type the matrix. Now, what is the inverse option? That's over here. Can you see this? That is the inverse. When you click on this, you will get the answer to the inverse. It's 2538. That's it. That's how we solve it. And you can even check the answer. How we can check is after you find the inverse, right? If you multiply this with a given matrix, the inverse and the matrix, it must be identity. That is obvious. You use the identity to solve this. You will get the identity back. Okay. Now let's try this one quickly. Mode 6, 1. Let me type this. 2, 4, minus 3 and minus 6. That's it. Now you need to press shift 4 and 3 for the matrix A, inverse. And here you're getting math error. Why is this? That means this is singular. There is no inverse for this. Now, if you're going to solve it by row transformation method, you'll be stuck. There is no way you can go further. Now, look over here. Whenever you solve this, right, what happens? You get both 0, 0. How will you continue this? There is no way to solve this. Okay, you can't do row operations. Now, in the calculator, it will directly tell you. But now the other method which I'm going to teach you, it'll easily tell you directly from the given question whether you can continue to find inverse or not. Okay, so that's the thing. You can try this by yourselves. You can use the graph transformation, row transformation, or you can just use the calculator and try it. Then let us use this one over here. Mode, it's 3 cross 3, mode 6, 1. Now it's 3 cross 3. So let me type the values. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 2, 3, 7, 9, 1, 4, 7. And after this, you just press AC, shift 4, 3, inverse. Okay, that's the answer. Let's see. That must be the answer. And that is what we had got. 13, 6, minus 4, minus 12. And all the answer matches. That's how we get it. Now, if you don't get a matrix, inverse, you will get a math error in your calculator. That means it's singular. And over here, it's also singular. Now, you might have noticed we jumped to example 5. We did not do example 3, I believe. We jumped directly from 2 to 3, I guess. 2 to 4. Why? Because over here, the identity matrix, here there was row operations. Now we saw the row operations in this lesson just now. The same thing is employed over here. Okay. Now let's look into the problems over here. The identity matrix is something that keeps on going for how much of rows and columns are they, but the diagonal will always be ones and remaining everything is 0. Okay. Now here, whenever you have, say, a system of equations, what happens is you can separate them out. The constants, the coefficients can be written as one matrix and the variables as other matrix and equal to the answers as the final answers. So this is both equal. This is how we can solve system of equations as well. But there are so many other easier methods to solve system of equations. So you do not need to stick with matrices. You can use other methods. But we need to learn how to use matrices to solve system of equations as well. Let's just learn it anyways. Let's see how it is done. But in your exam, if they are asking you a system of equation, use the other methods of system which we use to solve systems of equations. Say solving it by substitution methods or by calculators, because that will save you a lot of time. Now, this method would just take a long time to solve the same answer. That's the thing. Let's look into this. Now over here, you have, we basically use Gauss-Jordan elimination method to solve the system of equation by matrices. Now what exactly you do is, you split it out. All the coefficients, if there's no number, it's 1, minus 1, 1, minus 2, minus 2, 3, minus 4, 3, minus 4, and 7. We write all the coefficients over here. And then the variables. What is this variable? Now here you need to be very, very careful. Always the first term will be x1, then x2, x3. Even in the bottom it must be the same thing, x1, x2, x3. If they're not in this form, sometimes you'll have x, y, z. If they're not accordingly, then please rearrange it and write x1, x2, x3. Now this should be written as a column. Don't write x1, x2, x3. No, it should be as a column. Okay, x1 is first, second will be x2, x3. This is how we write it. The answers we write it directly as a column. Now, what we do is we basically do the augmented form, we do transformations, and then whenever we get identity matrix over here, we get the answer. Now, don't write this, we do the transformation, this and over here. When we do the transformation, which we have seen just a while ago, to identity matrix, start from the below row, whatever the answer you get, this answer is what? That is basically x1, x2, and x3 values. From here, now you can start with anyhow. Over here, what I would personally do is, see this row, R3, right? Just multiply R1 3 times R1 plus R3. Over here, minus 3 plus 3 will be 0. And then this and all will fall in its place. Okay? And you need to get this 0, this 0, this 1, then 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. It takes a long time though, but then you can, over here in the textbook also, it's just told using elementary row operations, you transform the first matrix into identity, which we did just a while ago, and then this answer is obtained. That is x1, x2, x3 values. Now we can use this use calculator to solve this. I'll show you how. It's not in matrices. If you go to mode, there is equations, right? How do we solve three simultaneous equations? It's option number 2, x, y, z. Option number 2 gives you need to type the coefficients. Now, all you need to do is type all the coefficient, minus 1, 1, minus 2. And the d is the solution, the equal to what? 2. That's the answer. Now, here it's minus 2, 3, minus 4, 5. And 3 minus 4, 7 minus 1. The answers are x1 is negative 13, x2 is, that's y, 1, and lastly 6. So this is an easier way to solve by systems of equation, but you can use matrices as well. So that's the solutions. And you can try these by yourselves, just the same method which we did a while ago in the calculator, and solve it by yourselves. This was the example 3. If you have noticed in the video, if you go back, you will realize from example 2, we just jumped to example 4. So this is now done, the example 3. These are the answers. Now you just remember this augmented form. You need to write this augmented form and then directly use the calculator and solve, because row operations, right, is not generally asked, because it's not about solving, it's about the time. Because in your exams, when you solve it, it takes a long time, and the examiner, considering the time constraint, they would allow you to do any method, and the exam problems will be simpler if you're using row operation. When you do one operation, all the others will directly fall into its place. So that's the thing. Now the last concept is finding the inverse of a square matrix. There are two, square and 3 cross 3 matrix, but this is important. So the concept is this. Instead of the method which we studied till now we will look into one thing called determinants. What is determinant exactly? Determinant basically is something that tells you details of the matrices. What is the value of a matrix? Now this determinant is found by, if this is a matrix, multiply this diagonal minus the other diagonal. That's it. These two must be done. You are multiplying, AD minus BC or CB. That is the determinant value. Now, if the determinant is 0, you can never have inverse, because it does not, it will be undefined. Whereas if any other value than 0, you will have an inverse. That's it. Look at a problem, you'll understand easily. Look at this. How do you find the inverse for this? First find the determinant of A, that is this and this cross multiplication. It's 2 cross 4, 2 multiplied by 4 minus 4 multiplied by minus 3. The answer is 8 minus of minus will be plus 12. The answer is 20. Now, the determinant is not equal to 0, right? It's 20. That means, yes, the inverse exists. Now, what is the inverse? You must remember this formula now. This formula is very important. What is the first part? This is divided by the determinant. You don't need to solve it again and again. Just write 1 by, what was the determinant? It was 20. Now, what do you do is, see, this must be swapped. Swapped in the sense this 4 comes here and this 2 goes over here. See, this is what A, B, C, right? This A is going over, D is going over here, and A is coming over here. So that's swapped. And what about the other two things? B remains, minus 3 remains, but the sign changes. Multiply minus, minus, minus becomes plus, and this becomes minus 4. So this is what happens over here. I hope this is clear. Next, it's not over. Multiply this 120 inside. It will be 4 by 20, 3 by 20, minus 4 by 20, and lastly 2 by 20. So it's 1 by 5, that is 0.2, 3 by 20 only, let's write. It's negative 1 by 5 and 1 by 10. These are the answers for the inverse. So that's the answers, okay? So this is how you basically find the inverse of the matrix, or we know how to solve it in calculator. Just use the calculator. I'll use the calculator and show again. All you need to do is go to mode 6 1, type in the matrix, and it is 2 minus 3 4 and 4. Let's press AC and shift and 4. Type the matrix A inverse. That's the answer. It is this 1 dash 5 means it's 1 divided by 5 or 0.2. Over here it's 3 by 20 minus 1 by 5 and 1 by 10. That's the answers. Okay, this over here shows in fraction. Here over here, if you see, it's in decimal. That's how we solve it. You can check it by multiplying the two matrices. You should get identity, and that means the inverse. Same way you can try this. Just try. Now over here, when we try to find the determinant itself, the answer is 0. That means the inverse does not exist in this case. So we cannot solve this. Over here, please do try. You can use your calculator and solve it, and you will get the answers. First, try the inverse. If inverse is 0, it does not exist. Otherwise, yes, this exists. Okay. Now, determinant is first found out. Now, if you want only the determinant, imagine the exam, they ask only determinant, not this. In calculator, you can do that. I've already saved the matrix A, right? I need to press shift 4 and don't press the matrix, press option 7. Determinant of matrix A, close the bracket. The determinant was 20. Yes, that is the answer. Now over here, I'll just do this matrix over here, the first one. Let me just save this. Mode 6, 1, 5, and the values are minus 4, 6, 8, minus 12. So these are the values. Let me save it. Now shift 4. Let me put the matrix and find inverse. You will get math error. Why? Because if you check shift 4 and the determinant, shift 4 and 3, the answer is 0. And if you have seen the formula for the inverse, let me just go back and show you the formula for the inverse. It is 1 divided by the determinant. When we divide anything by 0, it is undefined, right? So therefore, this is undefined. We get a math error because there is no inverse for this. I hope that's clear. So that's about the inverse and the determinants of the 2 cross 2. And now we will come to the 3 cross 3 matrices. Now, if you're asking me how to solve the inverse, it will just take a long time. There are many methods, but no one will ask you to solve inverse for 3 cross 3. But determinant might be asked. But even whichever they ask, they use graphing calculators anyway. We have a problem and they're using calculators, so we can use the calculator for this. Now here, the determinant is not so easy for 3 cross 3. You can see the complication. Even you can go 4 cross 4, 5 cross 5, but it will just take such a huge time to solve that you need a high power, high computing calculator or something like that. Otherwise, if you're doing it manually, it just takes forever, Now, let's see this. Here, this is the important thing. If you want to find the determinant of a 3 cross 3, you should take this first A and then ignore the rows and columns beside it. What is remaining? These values. Find the determinant of them. E, F, H, I. Now let's use a problem that time I'll show you easily. And then this is the formula. It is next start with B, but for the second values, it's always a minus. Doesn't matter what value it is, it's minus B. Then when you consider this B, what happens? This is ignored. These values are considered. Then when it's C, all the last row and last column is ignored and the remaining is considered. Sorry, the first row and last column. Now let's look into the problem. You'll understand well. Now look at this. Here, if you're doing determinant manually, minus 3, determinant of what? These 4 digits. So it will be minus 1 into 0, that's 0. You can directly solve it, but let me write minus 1, 2, 4, 0. Now it's a 2 cross 2 matrix, right? Determinant of 2 cross 2 is very simple. Multiply 1 times 0 minus 4 times 2. That's the thing. For second term, you should just use minus 2. Now this is gone. What is remaining? It is 1 minus 1, 2, 0. And lastly, plus 4. When 4 you're considering this all is gone and this is gone, what's remaining is these parts. That is 1 minus 1 minus 1, 4. That's the answer. Then when you solve it, when you do the determinant for all these 3 individually, you can solve it up. But the best and the easy way would be mode 6. Fill in the matrix. That is minus 3, 2. Let me just clear it out. Minus 3, 2, 2, 4, 1, minus 1, 2, minus 1, 4, and 0. And now all you need to do is press on or AC. It will be saved. Shift 4, press 7, and now shift 4, press the determinant. It should not be 0. Now, sorry, I have not pressed this. Shift 4 and 3. It should not be 0. It's 32. That's fine. Now we get the determinant how much over here? 32. That's just a minute. That's over here, 32. That means the inverse exists. And now to solve for inverse, it's you need to use a graphing calculator or any other calculator. It's fine. Now we will just do the same thing, shift 4. But here, let's type the matrix A inverse and press equal to, you will get the answers. These are the answers. Let's look into the final answer. It's negative 1/4, half, 1/4, minus 1 by 16, and all the answers matches. This is the answer. This is how you find the inverse for 3 cross 3. It's a very complicated method otherwise. I mean, there are some easy methods as well. There are methods, but generally you will be tested to find inverse on 2 cross 2. If you get even 3 cross 3, just use the calculator and directly get it. But usually you will be asked for determinants on 3 cross 3, but not on inverses on 3 cross 3. Okay, if you understand the concepts, grasp it, understand it, that's more than enough. And try to use alternate methods as well. Even the inverse, all the 3 different methods were explained in this video. But I would highly suggest you use the last method, which was just now taught, because that's the easiest and that's the go-to method. That is what we generally prefer because it's an easy, simpler, and quicker method. So that's the thing. And that's there are 2 practice problems. Please do try solving them by yourselves and then check the answers. The first one, determinant is 0, so inverse is not there. For the second one, determinant is 9, inverse exists, and this is the answer. We have finally reached the end of this lesson. I hope you have found it helpful. Please do consider subscribing to my channel. You can scan this QR code and subscribe to it easily. Please do consider sharing this with your friends who might benefit, with your friends or your classmates. That would mean so much to me. Until the next video, take care. Bye-bye for now and happy learning.